Woo. It's steamy in here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. Welcome, welcome. It is Thursday, and I'm a little late getting on, as I said I would be, because of the upcoming family reunion next week. So I had a lot of stuff to prepare for. We're in the middle of remodeling our house, building an art studio, getting my contracts and everything settled, and tour preparations for this fall. And 60 people are coming into town next week for a big family reunion. So, but I will find time for you, babies. Yeah, great stream last night. I had some awesome people pop in, and it was just really cool dropping in some of the colors and all that nonsense. Whoops. Yeah, great stream last night. Turn down my phone. You're going to hear that double. Cool. So, yeah, tonight we're going to, just as kind of an introduction to the video when we archive this, what I'm doing here is designing this for Genius Pipe, which is my 2018 art sponsor. This thing is amazing. It was voted High Times #1 pipe. It's magnetic. It's got my artwork on it. You put your goodies in there. You slide it down to light it. You draw from here. And when you're done, this will extinguish it so it doesn't light your pocket on fire. So we're coming up with some more designs for the Genius Pipe. And at this time, we have a couple of Alice in Wonderland ones coming out. And I say that loosely because I did a pretty obscure Alice painting where she's involved in a absinthe party with the Mad Hatter. And in the image slideshow at the top right corner, you'll see a girl with ferns in her hair. And that basically is the Alice piece. But you wouldn't know it unless I put it into the context. So we're kind of doing that with the same thing. I like taking poking in the direction of certain characters, but not really calling it, you wouldn't know this was the Red Queen unless I said so and called it that. So, but what I'm doing is I'm taking all the Alice in Wonderland characters for this pipe series and I'm pulling them out of the rabbit hole into our world. And so we're starting with the Red Queen. She is a Social Security check receiving. This is what these will eventually be, old Social Security checks. A Queen of Hearts card and 3 roses that with some cigar and cigarette butts that make her crown, and that come down and then has a poker visor on it. And then she's got this little, just to add a little bit of fantasy to the tree, or fantasy to the painting, we added this little tree growing out of the poker table that's going to hold her cards for her. Poker chips, not a huge stack. Maybe she just started. Maybe it's just been a shitty night. Maybe it's just because she's in Reno. And used cigarette butts, so that coupled with that shows that it might not be a great night because that's a lot of smoking. And she's probably been here for a while. The idea is she's kind of in, let's say, 1955, 1956. So I took some 50s patterns and kind of put them in the background. These are going to be baby blue against like a nice salmon colored background, and then she's going to be, more just the red and whites that we know her of. So, Ruger, what's up? Got your email, and I read it, and I just have to craft a drop a reply for you. But just a quick read. The concept is pretty cool, but there are a couple things I want to shoot your way about it that I'm maybe a little unclear of. But I did get it, and I will maybe I'll shoot you an email after the stream or early tomorrow. So, but how's it going? Thanks for popping in tonight. Cheers to you. Yeah, so let's start dropping some color in. And I pulled some white and some grays out to start because I'm going to do her hair. I'm actually going to make her gray haired, like old and gray hair. And then I'm going to go in and add some really bright whites So like the playing card, the visor, the cards down here, and then I'm going to do the white on the on some of these. I'll pop the white in after I do like more of a darker salmon color. So we're going to blend in this the side or whatnot. So I'm doing awesome, doing very well. Like I said, long day. I got on a little bit late, but I had to bunch of family obligations, and I did get one of my companies that hires me to do work for. I did get a contract figured out with them, so that's one less thing on my plate. The business side usually always cuts into the the fun part, which is painting. So, but I'm glad that went through, and I'm a happy camper. So. And I actually came back home and just was watching the first part of It with my wife, and I dozed off for a minute and then woke up. So I'm like really awake right now. So so the stream could go pretty long. I think I want to start with let's put some white. I'm gonna start dropping in some really bright whites on like the playing cards and whatnot. So. And is it Ruger? Am I pronouncing that right? Just so I know when you pop in the chat or that I'm saying that right. I was wondering if after Cigar Czar and everybody else, they kind of jumped in on the conversation last night about finding a comic book artist, if you had researched anything more, or if our words gave you something to chew on, and maybe helped inspire you a little bit, and or maybe calm some of your fears about having to pay a lot of money to a comic book artist to get your book done. So. Roger, okay. Cool. Yeah, let me get a little bit of color in, and let me pull up that email again. Because I know it was, where is it? It was, it had a lot of science in it, from what I can remember. Let's see here. Yeah, genetics researcher. Just refresh the Chimera project. Many years of research. Researcher. I don't want to read it out loud. The quality of people. On to practical experience. So what I'm seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, and I guess this is where I got a little fuzzy on the concept. It seems like, so it looks like, so these were test subjects. There were 11 of them. But after the last 4 were created, there's an attack on the military base. The experiments are taking place, and the creators killed and hiding the remaining. Okay, so 4 lived after the attack. The attackers also escaped with 2. The experiments are moved to Fort Knox for higher security. It then follows as the experiments grow up and they're good. I like the Fort Knox thing. Just because I think you could actually make a joke about how, everybody jokes there's nothing there. There's no gold. There's whatever. That'd be a cool setting though, because it is someplace you could you could talk about where they actually hide stuff. I could see like a little kind of a sly comedic element to it. Texas experiments are unfortunate. Then policy experiments grow up. So are they children at this point? Or are they, no, that's all right. That's what I'm saying. I got kind of confused because it seemed as if they were created and I didn't know if they were like super soldiers or and then they were full adults, but then it says as if they're growing up. So I was so are they children when they're these and is it four survived, two got taken by the enemy? They're about 13 to 18. Okay, I guess I read. I thought it said like there was however many planned, and then it was attacked, and a bunch of them. Well, I didn't say that they died, but I didn't know what happened to them. So basically, there's a 13 to 18 of them. The attackers grabbed two, four are in hiding, and the other ones are. What are they doing? Are they just out and about, or did they get killed, or? And if it's something you haven't, fleshed out yet, that's fine. I think in this, if I have to just throw something out there as far as my first impression, like my first thought is that it does have like almost a very like cyberpunk feel to it, or cyber, obviously very futuristic feel to it. And you said it was kind of slice of life, and then turns into something a little more weird. Oh, 13. Okay, 13 to 18 in age. All right, 10 of them were hidden, and the other two were stolen for their own research. Okay, so I'm assuming there's going to be a point at which the bad guys create their own or train these two, and maybe there's a let's say a meeting of the minds. So where do you see it going as far as story-wise? Because my first thought is, if you are going to do a comic involving like genetic experiments, a lot of it is very X-Men-ish, and like where they're even if they're or super soldier type, stuff that we've seen before in comics and whatnot. So I guess what I'm wondering is like, what is that's what kind of caught me when you said slice of life. I was like, is this kind of like almost like where you focus more on the how should I put it, like them growing up and more of their like what they have to go through, like trials and tribulations wise, or instead of making it like if it was a movie, instead of making would it be a huge action movie, or would it be more of a drama? Because if I'm, when I go to create a book or write a comic or whatnot, one of the things that I do is I'm like, okay, let's say I want to work in a genre. How do I, and maybe I do want to do a concept. Okay, for example, here we go. So Vera back here, she is my spokeswoman, and she's been in about 6 or 7 paintings of mine. So, but what I want to do with her is all the paintings, she's in different time periods, and eventually she's kind of built up to the point where I think it's quite natural. The next natural step is to eventually make her do a movie or a series or maybe a comic with her. But I got to come up with a backstory, and so for me, she's in different time periods, so time travel is obviously going to be an element. So what I'm thinking is, how do I make it different? How do I bring time travel into the scenario without making it as, maybe generic or something we've seen before? Like, how do we make it twisted? How does she time travel? How, maybe start there and come up with like a really cool contraption or a way that she time travels, Maybe instead of a contraption, she actually time travels through her thought process, or through her dreams, or through trauma, or like that's what I thought Quantum Leap, the old show back in the 80s or 90s, was so cool, because it was like this guy time traveled, but he didn't know when he was when it was going to happen. He just when he affected time, or when he did his job, it was just time to jump. So it was kind of cool. So if I had to go with, a way for her to time travel, and then kind of start talking about like why she does it, and then more getting into like her attitude as a person, because she is more like Tank Girl, you know, in attitude than say Doctor Who, you know. Um, so when I design characters and stuff like that, I always really try and look at like how different, but I like to get kind of really into the characters, like psychosis or into their thought process and whatnot. For instance, I have a book called Heart Murmur that I wrote, and this is the 120-page graphic novel that I wrote maybe 12 years ago, and I just have never had the time to finish it. But essentially, I'll give you the quick premise, and then I can kind of show you some of the, you know, weird ways that I've taken it. But essentially, it's about the city. So let's say the city is a living entity, and we've kind of seen that in movies before, like maybe the city's alive, but I've always kind of liked that, and I've always wanted to work with that idea. And it's not my fault I was born too late, you know. And then 20 other people have already written about that or whatnot. So if I do want to do it, like how do I evolve that? So basically, the concept that I'm working with for this comic is that the city is trying to find ways to become immortal. And we look through history, because I'm a huge history buff, and we see that cities started out being made adobe, and then they went into you know, brick or wood, and then brick, and then steel, and the book actually talks about like what the thought process of the city is, as opposed to just the city's alive, and then we leave it at that. So it gets into like, first it tried to like you know, help promote the sciences or whatever, to, you know, to building materials. It thought like building materials might be it, and then but there weren't enough scientists. So then the city kind of you know, it can float around ethereally and actually like kind of affect people and influence people. So then it started like, well, I need more scientists, so why don't we promote sex and promiscuity, and you know, then people will breed more, and why don't we promote religion, you know, go forth and procreate, and that's why you have Catholics with 50 kids or whatnot. So that was kind of the city's thought process. What the fuck process? Yeah, and then basically the city went, oh shit, I promoted sex too much, and now I have 50 million dipshits out there, and none of them are becoming scientists. So where the book that I'm writing comes in is where the city wants to start prolonging the life of scientists, engineers, people that can actually prolong the life of the city. So in the city, you know, the entity, the city's quest for immortality, it says, well, how do I prolong the life? And so what I did is I went organ transplants. So if you have a fucked up heart, let's say you need a heart transplant. Well, how do we do that? So the book actually takes place in the late 40s, and there's a guy named Gunther who he's just a factory worker for 40 years, and he you know, ends up retiring. And then the city needs experiments, because right now it's deciding to experiment in heart transplants, so to keep people alive more. He's like, well, if breeding doesn't make more engineers and scientists, then I need to start keeping these smart people alive. And so in the comic book, basically this doctor is influenced by the city to go after these subjects and do these underground illegal heart transplants. And that's where a little bit of the supernatural fits in, because the first heart transplant wasn't until, I believe, 1963. I'm trying to remember all my research. That guy became a fucking rock star overnight. And basically, Gunther's abducted, and they perform the heart surgery, and he's just a test subject, but they insert a cockroach in his heart. And it acts as a beacon for other roaches. And the roaches and rats and whatnot are used to kind of like eat the detritus and the trash and kind of, spread disease to control population and kill off. And that's like one of the things the city does to do this. So now this guy's running around with a cockroach in his heart, and he's being chased by millions of cockroaches that are trying to kill him. And then he's haunted by this little boy who starts showing up, who leads him to who his mom was, is where he got his heart, and then he eventually gets to the doctor and blah, 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 blah. So to bring it all back to your comic, I know we went on a way tangent, but the point being is, like, when I saw your pitch, I liked the idea of it because when you said it was like slice of life or whatever, I thought this would be awesome if it was a book about like these test subjects or whatnot, but you really got into like the day-to-day shit and then kind of really twisted it from there. Maybe brought some comedy in, or maybe brought, or made it very tragic, or make it, I mean, either way you go. Because there's certain movies like The Road with Viggo Mortensen, and that took me like 3 times to actually get through that. I was so like, holy shit. And I watched it right after my son was born, so it was like really kind of hard hitting on like, this guy just walking around in post-apocalyptic Earth trying to keep his kid alive and whatnot. So I dig the concept. I think it's something we've seen before, and there's a lot of as far as like test subjects and governments and whatnot. So I think what you should focus on is really like the backstory and the humanity of these people, and what these people are going through. Which they try and do a little bit of that in like the X-Men movies and all that, but it's Hollywood. They fuck all that up. But I think you could come up with some really cool shit as far as where you could take that storyline, And that's just for me. I mean, I've read comics for many years. I've seen a lot of pitches. I've seen a lot of, stories that are out now. I'm just kind of thinking of like what's out there and just trying to say, hey, cool concept. Would really love to see it take a direction that really it kind of shows the humanity of these things. So, if that helped, cool. Or let me know if I'm completely out of my mind and I should go back to drawing cockroaches and old men's hearts, which I will do. Can't wait to get that book out. I heard what the fuck process is. Yeah, sometimes you tune in on a certain part of a stream, and it's pretty funny when you walk in there, or you have no clue what I'm talking about. I have a lot of ideas for it. At first, it will follow how they're growing up, and then it'll evolve into a body mutilation horror, then action, and it'll be heavily psychological. Awesome. Exactly what where I would love to see that go. I love psychological, like, stuff like that, like where you really get into like what they're going through. And comics are a good way to do it because of the writing, and you can do it, and not just like that kind of Hollywood, like Bourne Ultimatum, where there's flashbacks and twitchy film of him going through, like how they made him into a soldier, and that shit's just so boring. But with comics, it's cool because you can actually write and really get in depth into, what they're thinking and whatnot, as opposed to just like visual nausea. There we go. So I'm just dropping in some white here, and then I'm going to drop the grays in and give her the gray hair. The card's been colored in white, We're going to do the white stripes on her high collar dress. Then I'm going to drop in a little bit of dark salmon color and kind of go around and darken up this background a little bit. And then I'm going to do white on all these. And I may jump in and just do the baby blue just to get the background in so I can start playing it off of what she's going to look like against this background. And if I need to adjust anything on her to make it work with the background. So. Oh, was that the Hang on a minute. There we go. I'm totally playing some YouTube shit tonight. Or something. It is up on YouTube that has a giant gap in one of the songs. It's crazy. Roger, if you're still on, have you seen you said it's a body mutilation horror. Have you seen a film called Begotten? It's a Spanish mutilation film, and we played it. We shot it up on the wall at one of our big Halloween parties years ago in San Diego, and it's an artsy film, but it's all like really crazy black and white. I think if you put Begotten in YouTube, it's on there. But yeah, this guy has some really wild shit, and I forgot. It's God, Fate, and Mother Nature, I believe. And it's like, yeah, I'll have to look up the premise, but it's something like Mother Nature gives birth to God or something like that, and then, but it ends up being like a mutilation film where he basically just mutilates himself in like super high contrast, like imagine like Frank Miller, Sin City, but without the gray tones, and it's just a dude sitting in a chair, and crazy shit. But if it turns into that, I'm thinking like just you need like a stunning visual artist for this project if it's going to go in that direction, which would be just awesome. Someone who can really capture that. All right. I love when whites start coming in because they just, and I haven't seen that. Yeah, should check it out. It's what the hell? It's something I think it may be inspiring if it's going to go in that direction. It's pretty cool. And let me make sure I'll put it in chat, but yeah, fantasy cult film, yeah. So it's that's the name of it, and it's E. Elias. I think it's Merhige is the name. 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6% on 6 out of 10 on IMDb. Just because it's people usually watch it and what in the fuck did I just watch? Nice. Hang on one second. So my buddy just texted me. He's the hospitality manager for a lot of the bands. So this is the guy that gets all my green room art into the green rooms. He's at Camp Bisco right now. I'll show you a picture. This is why I do festivals. Those are some cool motherfucking friends. So he's the hospitality manager, and this guy back here manufactures all my tapestries. So that's Fredo. So they're at Camp Bisco right now. They are unbelievable. If you guys ever get into the festival scene and meet the backstage crew, they're some of the funnest people to work at. So let me just shoot this text back, and I'll get back to painting. I'll get back to my work. No, that's fine, dude. I'm absolutely Roger. You're keeping it alive in here. I went on late. Most of the people that normally watch me are like 2 hours ahead, man. They're asleep. Nah, feel free, man. This is for me. It's an open forum. I'm not picky about. Like I said, I don't mind if artists post a link in the chat to their artwork. It's open for debate. You want to talk about art, business, whatever concepts, whatever makes you guys comfortable. I'm here for it. You need business advice on art, I can handle that. And I just want to see people creating, and I want to see them. I've been blessed enough to have a really awesome career. I'm doing really good right now. I hope it, keeps going. I'm 13 and a half years now into being self-employed as an artist, and it's been an awesome experience. And if I can pass that on to other artists and help them navigate a lot of the bullshit you got to go through, then that's my job at this point. I've got the art thing down. I'm a painter. I'm going to keep getting better the more I practice. And now it's just trying to, now I'm navigating into manufacturing, distribution, licensing, getting all that together. And eventually I'm building my studio into an agency, looking to sign artists, creatives, on every level. Who knows where it's going to grow, but if I can actually start bringing artists in and hiring them and paying them a good amount, and start cutting business people out of this, you know, Did you see my last long message? It is pretty boringly long. Oh, the one in chat, or did you send me another? Oh, I thought you sent another message to my Gmail that was boringly long. Wait, what? Who is that trying to call? Oh, like I said, man, whatever you want to or don't want to say, or just it's fine. I'm here for you. So I'm gonna bring a little gray into this and start in a lot of water. Start putting in some of these tones, these gray tones. Got to make sure Andy gets hooked up with a face shield. I put out the new Mad Hatter and Wizard of Oz, like the face shields that are like tubes you put over here, and you just kind of pull them up when you need them. But I don't know how dusty it is there, so I know the backstage crew loves those things. And I'm like, make sure he hooks you up with one. Got to take care of people. Now live. I love how delayed my feed is. I'm like, the hell? So we're just gonna shade this in. Make sure it's a little dark around the edge of this visor. And we'll detail this out with the Holbein ink. But I want to keep it kind of smoky and not as like you'll see how darker I get down here with that. But because it's underneath his visor and there's going to be a green wash, I want to keep it kind of ethereal. He already hooked me up. And you made the face shields I told you about. That's badass. I just got 2 fuck yes. See, love hearing that. Love getting the feedback. Andy's a good dude. And literally, he's the guy that puts my artwork in the hands of like Trent Reznor and Stevie Nicks and Eddie Vedder and who else did we give artwork to? Queens of the Stone Age, Foo Fighters, but just a kick-ass dude. Super cool to hang with at the show. One of these days I'll get into town early enough, I'll be able to hang and just go have a beer. But these guys work unbelievably hard. I mean, I get to a festival about 2 days before, and then the day before is when setup is, and these guys are like, I've already been there a week or two, or a week at least. The main character will be given the ability to heal really fast, but one of the crazier researchers will begin testing the limits of it for about a year, and it's basically torture and the body mutilation part. Okay, all right. So that's cool. That means you have at least one solid character that you can explore, like the just how fucked up it is to go through that mutilation and what it does to the human mind and how he changes in that process and whatnot. You can really do a lot of that, or a lot with that. It's almost like Wolverine. That's one thing, I mean, just make sure it doesn't come off as, is this Wolverine? Like I wouldn't make him a big hairy grizzled dude. There we go. So you see I'm doing a lot more cutting in and darker, more defined lines because of there we go. You also have metal claws that come out of his hand. What? That is Wolverine, dude. Now it's not a matter of making the story fit, it's a matter of copyright infringement. There we go. Okay, all right. I hear it. Yeah, you're like he smokes cigars and he lives in Alaska. He fought in World War II. He's got this bald guy in a wheelchair that keeps fucking with him. Yeah, I think you got a good thing going though if you head in like the direction of like the psychological and the dark and the something like it's like if DC Vertigo came out with something like the X-Men or like these genetic mutant cartoon or comic books or whatnot or government conspiracy things, like where it's like written really on a level that we understand as humans and not because we've all been through some sort of trauma, and if no matter how fantastical some of the parts are, if the trauma is written in a way that we've all like kind of related, can relate to, that's going to be that'll make for a fantastic premise or story. Because that's what I find with I don't read many comics anymore, but with movies and a lot of film, it's like I got to feel relatable to these scenarios now. I mean, I'm 41. I mean, I've shed my 20s. I've gone through my 30s. I can start kind of picking and choosing, what kind of bullshit I want in my life, and I have seen a lot of bad film, and so it's like being relatable to the characters and actually having some sort of intelligence written into the script, and no matter what it is, a lot of people focus on so much on how it's going to look on screen. We kind of went through that whole back when like 300 released and all that. Every comic artist was just out to get their movie comic book licensed as a movie, and I'm sure that still goes on today. I just haven't been to a comic convention either in a while, so. But that's like when I put out my first 4 books, I wasn't collecting comics at all either because I didn't want to be influenced. I literally stopped paying attention to the comic world, and I said, okay, now it's time to get into the comic world. I like the format of being able to use art and story, to create this experience for people, but I don't want to accidentally like or subconsciously or accidentally, like with that song "A Warm Place" by Nine Inch Nails, where Trent kind of unintentionally ripped off David Bowie, and uh, where I don't want to read something and then all of a sudden it ends up in my book, and I'm just like, oh shit, that did come from that comic. So, and it forces you to, you know, dive deep and kind of look elsewhere. How can a produce stand influence my comic? How can actually getting out in the world and taking a hike influence it? Environment-wise, like, let's put some white up here. Let's get that visor going. Kind of using your day-to-day life to take the book in a different direction or whatnot. I'm thinking of going to college for business marketing, creative writing. Business definitely. I mean, I've been an artist since I was 15, and I self-published my first book. I mean, I've been drawing since a little kid. But when I became a mortgage broker right before the '08 crash, I was a broker for about 4 or 5 years. That sales experience has done more for me, and connecting with business people has done more for me than I have ever, pulled from just being around creative people in the industry. And so the business for sure. As far as creative writing, college course is cool, but you should look. I don't know if you live in a big city, small town, whatever, but a lot of times there's creative writing meetups or groups, and people get together and share their work and help each other in the writing process. So it's always good to have an outside ear or someone that can help you with it or whatnot. And those meetups are usually free or hey, it's your turn to bring the donuts. There's a couple of them in San Diego. I actually did a guest speaking spot at one of them with Batten Lash, the guy who writes Supernatural Law, and his wife who handles or she sits on the chair or something like that, or the board of the Eisner Awards. So it was a really cool concept or a cool speech it was a really cool group to give a speech to. Sorry, stumbling over my words tonight. But yeah, they met every couple weeks, I think, and it wasn't a huge time commitment. It was maybe 3 hours tops. Once every week, once every 2 weeks, because it gave them time to actually write and take all that advice and whatnot. So yeah, really cool stuff. That's what it is. We'll do the white stripes. Then we'll start jumping into some ink, detail this out. So I don't think there's any close to me. I live in Nashville. There might be. But you're in Nashville. Now, is it Nashville or no? It is Nashville. My buddy Billy Martinez lives down there. In Nashville. That's where Printer's Alley is, right? Like that. Downtown by the Johnny Cash Museum, kind of over in that area, like that main strip. But is it Printer's Alley? I think I'm saying that right. There's a buddy of mine that live paints there all the time, and he is outstanding. He actually publishes comics, writes them. Um, I'm gonna feel really stupid if he's not in Nashville, but yeah, he's in Nashville. Yeah, because we drive to Nashville. All right. After we go from Columbus, we always shoot down and visit him. Didn't get a chance to this year, but yeah, they're in the downtown area. Okay, cool. Well, there's like an old rocker guy with long black hair, and he does anime and whatnot. He owns a comic company, Neko Press. Um, Let me reach out to him and see if I can't. If you don't mind, I'll forward your email address to him, and maybe you guys could connect. I mean, if he's in your area, and if you wanted to pop into one of his events, he's always doing art shows and whatnot in the area. He would give you some incredible advice on publishing comics and whatnot. And he's still in the business. He's still publishing. He's had Neko Press for, I want to say, over 20 years. Since I met him, we were like the only two live painters in San Diego back in like '99. I think we both started around the same time. So, but I could drop him an email and say, hey, this guy Roger's looking to do comics. I won't send him your concept. You can do that, and but maybe you could drop him an email, and I'll see if I'll get his email for you, and then maybe he can tell you next time he's going to be doing some live art, and you should go down and say what up. Yeah, he used to run an art school in San Diego, put out his own comics. This guy's a workhorse. He is a machine. If anything, just hanging around the guy and his work ethics rub off. Yeah, definitely. Now you may have seen some of his art. He's got his shit everywhere. I mean, I don't know how much you get out, but I know he's got his stuff hanging in stores and coffee shops, and there are all these like kind of wispy, very very free flowing brushstroke, like kind of anime girls and different situations, a Halloween one or cowboy one or something like that. Are you over 21? Are you able to get into? I mean, I don't know. You could be 15 for all I know. So, like, if he's live painting at a bar, I just it may sound like a weird question, but we've hired models before to come in and wear costumes, and some of them are like, oh, I'm not, and I'm like, well, you can't get in. So, I think Printer's Alley though is just open. Get out, meet on the most antisocial person. Okay. Well, I'll just, I'll shoot him a text and I'll say, look, I met this guy online, is looking to do some comic books and whatever, and he's got, needs some advice, and he's there in the Nashville area, and here's his email. Do you mind if I, give him your email, and then you guys can connect from there. So whether it's just like a one-on-one meeting at a coffee shop or a studio or something, we wouldn't want you to, feel uncomfortable. There we go. Yeah, now she's starting to really. She almost looks like her head's inside a box of chocolates. Like this is a little, like a Valentine's Day advertisement. Put like the C's candy logo on her. She's... Sorry. He's so chill and so mellow. I mean, he's not as intense as I can get and whatnot. I mean, he's very like soft spoken and very cool. So even if it's just email or whatnot. I mean, if you see him painting and you meet him in person, like he's a very chill dude, and he's just out to put out great art and great comics. That's his deal, and he loves teaching. Oh shit, I don't want that white. But you know what? The great thing about white, you color over it. Okay. I'm gonna make that joint a little yellowish. Because maybe he rolled it with an OCB organic hemp paper. Yeah, and he's someone that, like myself, I mean, I'll get nervous, because we're just here to make it happen. If we can help and offer advice and whatnot. I mean, the key to conquering nervousness is just like eye on the prize. I used to be ridiculously shy in high school, and I couldn't public speak. I couldn't, talk to girls. I could barely answer a question in class, and now I don't give a fuck. I'll go out and live paint in front of 100,000 people. Because for me, it's like I just kept beating it into my head that, and you don't have to be incredibly outspoken and do all that craziness, but just letting the passion for what you want to do take over, and kind of kind of drive the car for a while. And that's, and that's where the good of an ego comes in, not a pretentious artist, prick, but, when your ego is like, hey, I got this because you got a great idea and people need to fucking know about it. So, Moonwitch, you lurking? If I can somehow manage to market a Patreon really well, I'd be able to pay for an artist to work on my concept and new skills. Hashtag broker shit. Yeah, I hear you. And like I said, it's, as long as you get it in your head that it's a long-term thing, like it's an immense amount of work and you have to have like just the right amount of insanity. Um, if you are reclusive and you don't go out a lot, then shit, I did that through high school. I didn't sneak out, never did drugs, never smoked, never went to parties, never, I went home every night and I drew. I just knew. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm missing out on some cool high school days, but I don't give a fuck. I will never talk to these people again. And I knew that if I concentrated and I practiced and I got to where I am now, I'd be able to enjoy it. And I'm able to enjoy it throughout my 30s and now into my 40s when I'm able to understand that enjoyment and not just be like a 20-some-year-old psychotic, I mean, I lived in New Orleans when I was 20s. It was nothing but, I had no purpose. Like, drink and chase tail but I knew putting in that work that once I got to the age where it was like, I can actually sit back and enjoy this. So yeah, as long as it's a huge commitment, but it shouldn't be intimidating. I mean, because it's art, it's a project, because once you get this thing done and you get it out there and you're holding that book in your hand and you're published, that speaks volumes. Most people can barely read a book or have read a book in the last year, let alone created one. But after I got out, man, I said, okay. Use that. Put that into the book. I mean, that's one thing, you have that experience, you've been in the drug culture and the party culture, and I've seen it from both, outsider looking in. I mean, a lot of my friends, my best friend died of a heroin overdose in New Orleans, and I mean, I've been in the club scene for a long time doing live art, so I've seen all manner of shit. But and I use a lot of that in my art. It's where I get a lot of these characters. This chick, I've probably met her, and she's done so many drugs. She's actually 21 years old, not 90, but yeah. So no matter what path you took, no matter whether I wanted to just be the best artist I could and party later on, or if you already got the partying out, just make sure you get something out of it. I mean, I used to drink a lot more than I do now. And it was weird though, because in New Orleans, like drinking a lot. I mean, I met a lot of people that were completely functional. We just drank a lot. It's New Orleans, but that same drinking in San Diego, they thought you were like off your rocker. So it's funny how some things are regional too. And like when I moved to San Diego and like cut back, people are still like, "Holy shit, you drink how much?" Nowadays, I mean, it's I stick to beer. You got to be able to function. But had a lot of great times, and yeah, I used that. Got to put that in the old art. Got to make that party and make me money. No, she totally does look like a Valentine's Day chocolate box. Like you open the card and she's like a pop-up head. Happy Valentine's, sweetie. For the girl you kind of love, but you don't. But you really wanted to buy her a card. The Valentine's Day hag from Hallmark. There we go. We'll get a bunch of detail work going after I finish up just this white strip here. We'll jump into the Holbein ink and the number 0 liner brush. All right. Boom, give me some shit. Exactly. My lips are ready. Take a hit off this joint while you kiss me. See, we just brought a character to life. 3 days ago, it was a blank canvas. Now this chick is creating Valentine's Day nightmares for people everywhere. All right, we're into our second hour. Cheers! Or our first hour just finished. Yeah, we're into our second hour. Boom. Okay. Put this aside real quick. I hate it when the ink seals the jar shut. There we go. And then we'll wash the whole brush off. There we go. Didn't I buy another liner brush? Oh, this one's a number 2. That's thick. This one's starting to fray on the end. I don't know if you guys can see. Like right there. There we go. So let's see what kind of line work we can get out of this. That's why I keep the price tag on. Now it's time to take it back. Be like, this piece of shit? Do you see what this thing does? It's all frayed and shit. But, you know, it's why I don't spend $50 on a paintbrush. They're as dry as raven though. For love as they can be. Nice. Yeah, they're all cracked. Reminds me of, like, if you've seen Kingpin with Woody Harrelson, like his fucked up neighbor. In fact, that brush is now dead. His old landlord or landlady. He has to go down on her because he can't pay the rent. He's like vomiting afterwards. She's like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." There we go. We'll put a couple of lines right behind the rose. I like, just so it doesn't look like it's like just floating there. Like, There we go. A little bit of hatching on that. Well, if I'm doing ink work, I should probably maybe zoom in a little bit so you can actually see what the heck I'm working on. You like that smooth zoom? It's like whoosh. Time for a freshie. So we'll drop in some of the hair up here, mainly a silhouette, a little bit of highlight. Do you want to see the character I had an artist do for me personally? I didn't like stuff. Yeah, sure, of course. Link, link, link. Bring some of the hair in this way. With the basics, kind of a tight little bun, but I just want to kind of be indicative of. There we go. Oh, let's check this out. Oh wow, yeah, they fucked that dude up. Not drawing wise, but he's missing an arm, and that's crazy. Yeah, whether the style meshes or not, definitely find the right person for that. But cool to see visually what you're thinking for these things, and that's crazy. Whoops, he's all on crutches. We'll come in some a little bit heavier. Almost thinking like visually, I like Lost City of Children, or was it City of Lost Children? Or I'm gonna get the name right. With Ron Perlman, the French film. Um, might be an awesome style for it. Give it kind of just like an older feel to it. I always mess up with the City of Lost Children. Yeah, yeah, that movie. Very very cool. You can kind of see stylistically like If you haven't seen it, that's what that guy wears to like try and capture what it means to be a kid. But Ron Perlman's in it, the guy who plays Hellboy, and the visuals are just absolutely crazy. Get a few loops of hair going outside the visor here. All right. Just doing some detail work on the visor here, dropping her hair in. Yeah, I kind of like that, how that turned out. So let's bring that down. Kind of experimented with two different ways to do the hair, and I dig how it came out more on the other side. So we'll. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't mind the band, but all this ranting about God. All right. There we go. Half the experiments will have mutations that they can hide, and the other can't. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, that's cool too. Like, it gives you a lot to explore. Just poured beer all over me. um, as far as from the psychology side of it to the visual side of it, that's pretty. That's a lot to work with. Oh, where are we at? close that out. Sorry, just keeping up some stuff. Yeah, it's funny they got the guys with the big signs and the microphones and or the megaphones and whatnot at Comic Con. Like I just don't understand their message. I'm like, we're all just chilling, like into some pop culture and comics and whatnot. Like, you know, I'm not a God-fearing individual, but I figure that guy might be into some comics. I mean, if you look at the Bible, it's basically just a comic book. It's like a big fantasy adventure. There we go. Yeah, don't wreck for those people. He was like, "I'm just trying to go to the doctor. I don't need this right now." Oh, you were like, "Yeah, exactly. I don't need it ever." Like, I got shit to do, man. Yeah, I saw some people like they would go up behind the dude with like the microphone or megaphone at Comic Con and like get selfies behind him, and guy just kept ranting, just like, dude, like you should get into comics because a lot of what's being written is influenced by religion. You might actually find, something you may be into. And if you're just out there ranting because cosplay girls are all scantily clothed, then, well, that's just sad. There we go. All right. She is just sexier by the line, by the brushstroke. Stroke my hair. It's crispy. It's some nice crispy hair. All right. What do we got? 10 more minutes of this mix. Winter mix. Trying to find Funkervot Mega Mix. Oh, that might be a decent one. Yeah, let's pop that on. Bam. Something a little less flowery. I like some of VN. That was VNV Nation. It was like a DJ mix. And this is Funkervot. A little more harder edged. Do some like ones that go over. Little curly cues. Love that shit. It just like really shows what this ink can do. It's like, almost has like a pinstriping quality to it. Want to see some funny Bible verses? Shit, why not? Let's do it. Deuteronomy 25:11. If two men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes to rescue her husband from the assailant, she reaches out and seizes him by his private part. She should cut off her hand. Show her no pity. And these are actually from the Bible. Because I know it's got some fucking weird shit in there about like not using a ladder or something like that. Just the idiocy and the lunacy of that book. Every time I travel, I always sign the Bibles at the hotels. So if you ever go to a hotel and it says like, "Don't blacklight the sheets," Jesus, I may have stayed in that room. But I try and put like inspirational quotes, We're here for the fucking rock show. Have a great time. Don't day drink. Cut off her hand. The noise. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Oh, come on. What if it was an industrial accident? Sorry, man. The forklift and it just happened. I lost my dick. So many rules to get into heaven. There we go. Can you guys see that? There we go. Just a little doohickey work. It's the official title of it. Just these little strands of hair that kind of fly away, but they add so much action to the painting. I have some paintings where I'll paint the whole thing and leave the hair for last and do this blast of like long hair, and it's like, oh, just takes it in a completely different direction. Do 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 do. Well, here we go. Behold, with a great plague will the Lord smite thy people and thy children and thy wives and all thy goods. And thou shalt have great sickness by disease of thy bowels until thy bowels fall out by reason of the sickness day by day. Wonderful. I will kill your fucking children and you're going to shit your brains out. Fucking amazing. I mean, it's very specific. Like, this dude's like, how might I smite you? You are gonna shit your anus out. You're gonna shit your intestines out. You should give each one of your characters in your book, like right before they go into battle, they shout out like one of these. That's like their battle cry. I'm gonna make you shit your fucking intestines out and kill your children. Oh, and then runs into battle, and you're like, the bad guy's like, what the fuck did he just say? And he gets like a cheap shot in. She remembered her lover with the penis like a donkey and a flood of semen like a horse. Do donkeys not come as much, or yeah? You can tell I didn't grow up on a farm. Woo! And then what we'll do is get some of this hatching going on underneath the hair to set it back just a little bit. And then we'll just run some down the right side of her face, left side of her face. Exit stage left. There we go. So she even looks more like a pop-up Valentine's Day card or a large head-shaped chocolate and a C's Valentine's Day box. But our Red Queen is coming to life, enjoying her shitty hand at poker. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are some pretty specific verses that you're posting there in chat. And that's great for some people that just popped in to walk into that. It's an interesting night here. But thank you all for hanging out on this fine Thursday as we crank through this Red Queen, the Red Queen of Reno, 1955. Just taking some Alice characters and putting them in, actually pulling them through the rabbit hole and bringing them into our world, as opposed to Alice just falling down the rabbit hole. So we're dropping in the hair right now, just kind of the gray hair of the Red Queen. Did up some of the whites, so dropped in the white of the visor and the white here, and then dropped in the card. So I'm zoomed in now so you guys can see the detail work a lot better. And we're just going at it. And Roger is posting about horse and donkey dicks in chat to keep the chat live and well. That was just perfect timing. I can imagine some person just like tuning into the channel. What's Sean doing? Donkey dicks and a flood of horse semen. I'm out of here. Oh, love this track, Hostile Waters. There's a lot of weird ones, but those are the ones I remember because they stood out so much. Yeah, I've seen something like that, an article many, many years ago where they picked out just some obscenely weird shit from the Bible. But, they were on some stuff back in the day. No different than the weird-ass shit we write nowadays that people are going to pull out 1,000 years from now and be like, what was going through their heads? kind of some little action lines in her frill. There we go. Okay. And then a few more hairlines because we really want to just whatever action we can add around there. And I just like doing these. So you kind of got our hair almost like, just tucked. The crown's just shoved on top of it, and it's just kind of like flowing behind. Maybe it's tied, and then it comes out. Who knows? She's got her hair. It's all greasy. It's all whatever. She's been sitting around the table for way too long. Let's actually just darken this in since it's shadowed up underneath her chin. Maybe it's been just a horrible night at poker. Yeah. I don't think Christians acknowledge him either. Last time one of those dudes at Comic-Con was yelling at me through his megaphone, he wasn't like, "Accept the horse dick, sir." I'm like, okay, what? Is this Pornhub or is this from the church? All right, so let's get these cigarettes in. Cigaretten. And we'll color the band something different. We'll put some fire. It'd be cool. I still have to add the blacklight reactive paint to a couple of the other paintings. The Devil's Slug I finished up a couple days ago, and then, but maybe I'll make the embers. Of this glow, like each one of the cigarettes' butts is still lit. That shadow. Yeah, we'll put a little gold wrap around it. Go. We'll start doing those leaves up. Get the foliage. Time is it? It's got to be, yeah, 12:30. Not bad. I said I fell asleep earlier and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. There we go. And you say you can't write. Come on, dude. That should be the premise of your book right there. It sounds like an episode of The Preacher. Which I haven't quite caught up on that show yet. I think I'm a season behind. I was like, I remember something, and then I went on tour, and I came back, and I was like, all right, let's watch it. And And then my wife's like, "Oh yeah, you remember in the end when like Hitler came out and did it?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, did we not watch that?" And I'm like, "Fuck if I know. I can't follow all these TV shows. A lot of my I get into when I'm on tour because I just have downtime and in between shows and I'm just I can actually watch them, but then when I get home and I have to do the family thing and then do all the business grunt work and get new artwork going and it's just like TV who? It's a pretty new track. This must be a new mix. I'll paint these cigars in brown. Oh, I just painted all that off camera. Hey, that's one of my famous games. How long? Zoomed in is Sean going to paint off camera before he realizes it? My apologies, guys. I know this part I'm inking in right now is off camera, so let me get. There we go. It's just tough to, if I'm fully zoomed out, for you guys to even see some of these thin lines that go in. That might just be a short one off Dark Comment. It doesn't already exist exactly. Or if it's like thrown in there as like some like weird internal thinking from one of the more like insane characters. There we go. Whew. I'm getting there. It's probably annoying when I whistle into the microphone. Right. All right. I'll have to stream next week from the family reunion. Just get all my brother-in-laws and I while we're drunk to start ranting into the camera. A new kind of art. I've heard that one. Thinking it's the same as doing it, or like. Like now you're getting into some wild shit because it's like, dude, that's some chemical stuff. That has nothing to do, If I look at a good-looking girl and I feel like, that's all happening chemically. There we go. There we go. But I'm gonna go to hell because I looked at a girl and was like, "That ass, though, man." Exactly, man. It's chemical. I don't mean anything by it. I don't think it's offensive. I mean, you're just thinking it. I may think in a little bit different dictation or language than that, but I get you. Just detailing the roses. Just banging out a lot of the ink work tonight. It'd be funny, but no. Well, that's why I'm glad I'm married at this point. I don't give two fucks. I'm too busy. I got too much art to produce. I got too much business to accomplish. Glad I found my woman. Good to go. Oh Oh yeah, this track is hilarious. Got like some Gregorian monk like singing back up on like a industrial song. There we go. There we go. There we go. Because I'm classy. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's how I grew up. I don't I don't like trash. I've dealt with it quite a few times in my life. It's too much cool shit to do than to be a moron. I'm going to vary the hatching here. Vary the hatchet. There we go. All right, what do we got? Almost 2 hours. Got a little bit of a late start tonight, but cheers to everyone. Thank you for hanging out. And let me zoom in a little more. I was working on these roses. You guys can kind of see more of the line work. You know, it's just a lot of hatching and almost kind of like old school comic book inking. I'll start working on this rose and this leaf, kind of this area right here. But yeah, this is the Red Queen in Reno, 1955. The Red Queeno in Reno. Taking Alice characters and putting them in real life situations. She's old. She's on Social Security. She doesn't have an empire anymore. There will be no off with your head. Impossible. Okay. There we go. Oh, I didn't say I was dead inside. There it is. Rogue paper towel. Does the wife get mad at you when you're looking at someone provocatively dressed? No, because I don't ever. Well, I don't know how to put it. It's not that I don't. I don't really give a fuck. Like I don't. Like I'm not gonna look at someone like yeah, you know. But if someone walks in the room and they're visually stunning, I mean, I'm an artist. It's kind of hard for me not to look that way. So, but I don't. I don't check girls out. I don't. Sit around and gawk or whatnot. But for me, it's I don't. It's just visually stunning sometimes. So no, she doesn't get mad if somebody walks in, and I normally don't. I don't look at girls with that kind of attraction, like because my wife's hot. I have a hot wife. I'll admit it. She's really good looking, and I love her to death. And so I don't have that problem. And we've been together almost 8 years, and I don't know. Everybody's like, oh, the 7 year itch, or she's just so fucking cool. Outside of just looking good, she's helps run my business, supports the art, supported me when I was making like 500 a month on my artwork. She does all my sculpting, like polystyrene sculpting. Like she'll jump in and do just whatever. She'll look at the first OCB paper I did or poster I did. She was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make some paper mache animals for your booth setup," and travels with me, and um, so it's weird. It's almost as if like, and this is kind of a cool thing to assess. It's almost as if like not only her beauty and what the teamwork that we have and the camaraderie, it almost like overshadows anything. And any other woman or any other, because to me, I look at it and I'm like, anybody can throw on some nice fucking clothes and look halfway decent, unless, you got some serious shit going on. But, and that could be the other thing about being a visually stimulating person is you've got to be out of fucking control before I pay attention. Like, I'm just, I don't know. I'm so into my art, and I'm so into my wife and my life I have now that. But like we talked about earlier, it's a chemical response, for looking at an attractive woman and just being like, oh, I mean, but I'm not gonna like, go wander over there. But she is a woman, so and she is with me, so yeah. I mean, if a girl walked in and I started, looked over and what are you looking at her for? I can't say she hasn't said that before, so we're only human. And she's 10 years younger than me. I didn't marry young. I married at 34, I guess, right? Yeah, and she was 24, so she was a little bit younger. But we had both traveled and been out there, and in the dating scene and all that. So, do you find it weird when people who have hot wives cheat on their wife until they're far less attractive? Like I don't understand. I do find it weird, because obviously that went beyond attraction. That went like obviously something was so wrong with that relationship to begin with that the hotness, and it shouldn't be the only thing. That says to me that there was obviously a hell of a lot more wrong with that relationship than just like, you know. Because personally, I don't. My buddy used to have a saying, and I don't know where he got it, but he used to say, no matter how hot she is, somebody somewhere is sick of her shit. And of course, that could be played in reverse for a dude, you know. And it's true. It really put it into perspective, because we lived in San Diego and there was just all these snotty hot girls around, and we could never get any because we were weird fucking punk rock kids and or whatever. But you know, I don't know. I think all of Hollywood's just fucked up to begin with. So whether Arnold banged his maid or not is just weird to begin with. And that's why I like the fact that like my wife helped build this business. She was there when I was just broke as fuck, and I was just an artist, painting in a nightclub, and that was cool enough for her. It was like I wasn't rich, still not rich, but I make a living off my art, so and we do pretty well. So but she was waitressing when I, through when we met, and I was a full time artist. I just wasn't making a lot. But I had a roommate situation. I mean, I think my total bills and rent were $500 a month. So, but you usually want to make a little bit more when you start dating someone, so you can take them out. But the fact that she's seen the struggle and the hardship and just how fucking insane you have to be a professional artist and has stayed with me is it just speaks volumes, and that to me is sexier than big tits and looking great. So Washington. So I lived in San Diego 15 years, and then I moved up to Washington. So Washington State, not DC. We're actually in a small little town that she grew up in. Because I travel everywhere, and I hate San Diego. I despise that town because it's just shitty town. Everybody's like, oh, it's America's finest city. But we won't get into my disdain for that city. But yeah, I mean, I travel a lot. I'm on the road 2, 3 months out of the year. I've traveled to Australia and done a tour. And basically, when I wanted to move out of San Diego, I just told her, I said, well, I'm on the road all the time. So I'm always seeing sights, and I have friends all over the place. I'm like, where do you want to move? Because you're home most of the time. And just so she had that option to pick where we moved, so she could build our house in an environment and in a place that appealed to her. And she really wanted to come back to her hometown up in Washington. I'm like, pack that fucking truck. So it was more, no, keep her happy. I see all sorts of cool shit on the road. And I'll tell you, that helps a marriage too. Fondness, what is it? Distance makes the heart grow fonder or whatever. I mean, just that, as weird as it may sound to say, it's like, it's just that intensity when I'm on the road and I'm like, I gotta get back to her. Like, I miss my kids. Sharpen that up a little bit. I'm going to outline that in certain colors. Almost certain I'll have to go over it again. Where would you want to live once you get to the point you're making so much money from sales that you don't have to work for people anymore? Good question. Very good question, because I have thought about like whether I would like to leave. Whoa, that's Zoom. Whether I'd like to leave the country, or I don't know if I can answer that yet, because I've only been to Tijuana, Australia, and the United States. So I want to travel. I do. I would actually like my home for a significant period of time, like maybe in my late 40s, early 50s, spent traveling and really absorbing cultures and whatnot. To maybe even see if it's out of the country that I want to get a little place, you know. Maybe just go up and get a little cottage in Ireland and just drink Guinness, hang out at a pub all day. I don't know. That sounds absolutely fantastic to me. Um, you know, I could probably say I won't live in a big city. I grew up in Baltimore. I've lived in New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, San Diego. I mean, I do tours everywhere. San Francisco, I spent a lot of time in. You know, and I really like the idea. Like, I live in the country now. I have a 16,000 person town that I live in, and it's nice to come back to that. So, quiet little corner of the world where, you know, no matter how crazy it gets on the road, like Hunter S. Thompson said, as long as I make it back to where my home and my studio are, it's going to be okay. So it would probably be something very obscure, you know. Favorite major city is San Francisco. I have more fun there, and I have amazing cuisine, and it's absolutely probably it's one of my top favorites. But I've also been hanging out. Savannah's really cool. I do a bunch of shows in Louisville now, and I'm actually starting to kind of get into the culture in that city. There's just so many great cities for the people, you know. But if I had to say overall, you know, San Francisco is definitely has definitely captured you know, my eye. But you know, I would never live there. It's just absolutely ridiculously expensive. I don't think you get your money's worth. But I'm starting to kind of, you know, look at some more like second tier cities that you know, people don't always talk about. So some of the cities in the south and whatnot. But I like Seattle. I mean, I'm an hour and a half north of Seattle, so I'm even further north, and I'm almost at Canada. But yeah, I'd have to do a little bit more traveling before I really decided where I'd like to settle. And the reason why I may think I may end up outside of, you know, the country eventually is just less intense people and more just more focused. You know, a lot of foreigners that I've met and people from various European countries, and I don't even know if I'm even going to explain this right, but yeah, just it just seems so much less like random fierceness. You know, like I mean, if I'm going to retire somewhere, I'm obviously going to want to just chill. Um, because where I'm at now, it is small town and it's small town mentality, and it can be quite fucking annoying. And so I don't know a lot of people up here. You know, my wife has friends. I have a few now, but nobody I hang out with on a regular basis because, you know, most of my friends and people I can manage and to deal with is they're out on the road. You know, they're in other cities. All right. So we got the roses, we got the leaves, got that nice neon green helping everything kind of glow, and then we have we went down, did all the detail work around her visor, got her hair in, dropped her hair in here, got the stripes and whatnot. You know, the UK. I feel yeah. I mean, at one point I thought like London or somebody, you know, but that was like when I was in my 20s and I just wanted to get the fuck out of the country, and I thought, ah, man, that'd just be a great city. And but you're right, you know. It may be just as intense. And as the problems kind of grow in the world, I think it's more going to be focused on obviously big cities anyway, because that's where all the people are. And so you know, I'm going to stay away from most big cities. So, and I like having land. I mean, I have an acre, a little over an acre of land up here. I have like a 1,400 square foot house, and then a detached 3 bay garage that's 1,300 square feet that I converted into my new studio. So I have a shit ton of room to work. I have a lot of land. I back up to a huge forest, so I have all manner of animals coming through, and it's more like kind of how I grew up. And so for my kids, it's like instead of running around the concrete jungle, it's awesome that they can go out and pick up snakes and frogs and you know all sorts of weird shit. And the education system up here is phenomenal. And that definitely was one of the big reasons to leave San Diego. Is the California school system is complete shit. So, and I'm not ready to pay private school prices. You know, I'm basically getting a high-end private school education for my kids publicly up in Washington where we live. You know, and we're a tourist destination because we're on an island. We're up by the San Juan, so you know, half of it's a flood zone. I'll tell you, whoever paved my driveway and graded it, half my shit's in a flood zone now too. But yeah, it's nice having land. You know, it's nice to know you can expand, you can build. This is my first home I've ever owned, so it's just has, you know, for different feeling about it that I can build, I can modify. I don't have to ask a landlord. You know, it's super nice. What part of the country are you in? Nashville. That's right. Yeah. So you got like an acre outside the city, or yeah. I mean, I you know I wouldn't mind setting up multiple studios. That's one of my goals. I would love to set up a studio in Louisville because I do a lot of shows out there, and it's central. And maybe have an East Coast studio, like somewhere on the ocean, or you know, that way anytime I'm on tour, I've got like a nice place I know I can go and relax, and I can spend some time, you know, actually working in an environment that I've built, as opposed to cramped up in my motorhome trying to paint at a converted table. Ah, the dreams. There we go. 10, 20 minutes away. Okay, cool. Yeah, I would love to get some serious acreage at some point. That would be very cool. Like hidden underground bunker over here, and 200 acres later, you got my house and some doomsday prepper shit. Uh, cool, cool. And then let's pop out of the ink for a minute. I'm gonna put a couple highlights on. What is it, 1 a.m.? I might actually call it for the night after I dip into this white real quick. Just want to make sure I get up early tomorrow. Ugh. Look at the whites of her eyes. Look at the highlights. Really bring those out. There we go. Wash that brush off. And eventually we'll highlight the. In fact, let me get another bowl while I'm thinking of it, and save that paint for tomorrow. You know, do a lot of highlighting on the roses as well. So the leaves in the roses aren't done yet, color-wise, but we'll drop in some nice highlights and make it look a little bit more shiny, maybe a little moist. We'll drop in the visor and whatnot. But yeah, I'm gonna call it for tonight. Let me zoom back. You guys get the whole image there. So you have the Red Queen playing poker. We got the visor. We got her crown done tonight, except for the Social Security checks, and then we'll drop in the background tomorrow. So, yeah, dude, Roger, thanks for hanging, man. It's almost the whole stream. And hopefully, conceptually, I threw a couple things out there about the story. I mean, feel free to hit me up. I will talk to my buddy Billy and get you his email address and vice versa. And if you guys can get a little thing going on in Nashville. So, but yeah, appreciate it. And I will see you guys tonight. Maybe 10 p.m. I'll have to adjust my stream time depending on when this whole family reunion thing. But I should be on at 9. If not, I'll be on by 10. So, you know. Ah, the GIMP! You just jumped in, homie. Hi and bye. I'll be on tomorrow, dude. I got a little bit of a late start tonight, but I got to a good stopping point, and I will I'll jump back on tomorrow. So, all right, guys, take care. Cheers. This PBR is for you. Yeah, you got your devil, you know.